2 weeks ago, Cosmonaut Variety Hour released a video explaining that Batman v Superman is the worst superhero movie ever made, and also explaining that Man of Steel sucks. And I thought, what's this hair doing in my taste of difference cornflakes? Get it out of here. Didn't want to watch it at all until one of my friends was like, you know what? Watch the video, see what you think about it. And I thought, okay. So I went to watch it, and there were a lot of things I had wrong with it. So I thought, why not make this into a video? Now, quick disclaimer, I'm not bashing on Cosmonaut Variety Hour at all. I'm just offering my thoughts on his thoughts. I'm not going to change his mind, he's not going to change mine. At the end of the day, this is just a fun discussion. My personal biases will get in the way because I love Batman v Superman. If I do get angry over some things, it's in good taste. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Cosmonaut talks about Man of Steel and how it's not good and semi-watchable. This is down to personal preference. I think Man of Steel is definitely a good movie. It does at times fail to keep my attention, but it's a solid movie. I don't know why people hate on it. It didn't do anything massively wrong. He criticizes Henry Cavill's Superman being an emotionless alien demigod masquerading as a human without acting like one. The whole point of this Superman is that he's emotional, which is why he doesn't get things right all the time. He feels anger and loss when his father dies. He lashes out at Zod when he threatens his mother. He feels pain and guilt for not stopping the explosion in the courtroom because he knows full well he could have, even though it's later revealed in the movie that he couldn't have. This iteration of Superman is probably the most emotional we've ever seen him, and Henry Cavill's acting is amazing. Pick one example of him being emotionless. He almost kills Lex Luthor at the mere mention of him having hold of Martha. Henry Cavill's Superman is not the boring Boy Scout like he says. He's this very down-to-earth hero who is early on in his career and is still trying to find his place in the world. The whole movie talks about Superman and if he should act or not, and this damages Clark's self-confidence as he's just started showing himself to the world and the world isn't ready for him yet. This is Superman if he was in the real world. Politicians discuss Superman and question his authority, which feels very natural. It feels like what would happen in the real world if an alien did come down on Earth and started saving people. We would question why, like the movie does. Every act is a political one. They don't believe that a person will do good simply because it's the right thing to do, and yet Superman does. The fact that people don't understand that is why Clark struggles with being Superman, and the fact that he is being wrongly accused of killing people in Nairomi, which causes the politicians and the public to question his authority in the first place. Clark is being accused of something he didn't do, and he responds naturally by getting annoyed with people talking about him on the TV when he's just a guy trying to do the right thing. It doesn't feel fair. Saying this version of Superman is emotionless just doesn't sit right for me. He does give props to the Man of Steel where props are due. I agree that Michael Shannon as Zod is amazing and that the first flight scene is really good. I get the criticism of the shaky cam. I don't find it too distracting, and I think it's warranted for the scenes on Krypton, because for me, it builds upon the urgency of the situation, where Krypton is about to explode and the council has accepted that, but Zod hasn't. And Snyder definitely overuses the quick zoom thing a lot. I feel like I'm watching a teen on Instagram show off their food. He then nitpicks Superman's suit for whatever reason. He says it's this dumb, futuristic alien mesh. I mean, personal preference, but this is the worst you've seen? Green Lantern not top that spot at all. I agree with the movie being boring, but the scene on Krypton is not a good example of that. We've never gotten to see Krypton's destruction in movies before, and it was a really well done scene. The criticism of the destruction will never end, will it? It's his first time. We can't all be experts on our first time now, can we? It is very apocalyptic, but this Superman has never done this before. He has one goal in mind, stopping Zod. He hasn't realised yet that rescuing civilians comes before stopping the villain. I also agree with Cavill not being the most charismatic. He rips into Zack Snyder saying he wants to make edgelord fan fiction. What? This is a complaint made by many who don't really understand Snyder's universe. I'm not going to sit here like other YouTubers and say my IQ is 4 parallel universes ahead of anyone's because I understand BVS, but come on, man. It's dark because Snyder was thinking what would happen if these heroes existed in the real world, our world. It's why you see Superman being brought to court. It's why you see Batman's ethics being called into question by newspapers and Alfred. Saying Zack isn't interested in creating faithful comic book adaptations is just wrong. He's just putting his own spin on them. Now, I don't blame people for thinking they're unfaithful variants of their comic book counterparts. I blame WarnerBros. Zack Snyder has stated in an interview that when depicting these characters, he's depicting them at their lowest points in their careers, referring to Superman and Batman. He said that he doesn't want to portray Superman as this one-note Boy Scout. He wants to show off these characters at their lowest points so that they can progress into the characters we know and love. This Superman and inevitably Batman would have gradually evolved into the well-known versions of the characters we all know and love in Justice League, completing Snyder's trilogy. These characters were going to have actual arcs, you actually start to see Batman's arc in the Martha scene. We'll discuss that later. But Warner Bros. Happened and ruined the whole thing by having no faith in Snyder. Right from the get-go, his vision for Justice League was getting increasingly compromised by higher-ups who wanted a lighter, Marvel-style tone and more jokes due to the reception of BVS. Snyder sadly had a family tragedy, meaning he had to step back from the project, and Warner Bros. Brought in Joss Whedon to finish the movie. Joss Whedon changed so much of Justice League that there was only 10% of Snyder's footage in the theatrical cut, which is why it's so disjointed from the other two movies. This is why people have problems with these characters. It's because they haven't realised their full arcs yet. People understandably have a problem with how much damage Superman caused while trying to defeat Zod, but forget the fact that this is his first battle. Now that we are getting the Snyder cut, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a line in there where Superman is concerned about the civilians in the area of the final battle and wants to evacuate the area before they engage. He says these characters never improve across the 3 movies, but the true version of the 3rd movie hasn't even been released yet. If he still doesn't like the character progression after the Snyder cut, then that's fine, but to place the theatrical cut of Justice League in the same continuity as Man of Steel and BVS is just setting it up for failure, which isn't fair. So he finally gets onto the main event, Batman v Superman. His first criticism of Snyder's Batman is that he uses guns. Batman's used guns in his weaponry many times before, and him using guns in the post-apocalyptic future where Superman and Darkseid reign supreme is fine, because this Batman has had to deal with so much up to that point and has probably realised that not using guns is useless in this situation. What is he going to do, arrest the entire village of parademons and Superman soldiers? Next problem, Batman doesn't kill people. Let's forget Tim Burton's Batman for convenience, shall we? Now I agree with this, that this is a fundamental part of Batman's mythos, and you can infer Batman's killing in BVS in many ways, but the one that makes the most sense is this way. Throughout the movie, he uses his weapons on his armory to take out thugs. He brands some people with his bat symbol, which is basically a mark of death. This Batman is incredibly wary. The killing of people with his Batmobile and Batwing are due to his carelessness. He doesn't care for criminals anymore, and like Alfred says, he's become cruel, referring to his branding. There's a line when he's talking to Alfred over his father's grave. He says, "Criminals are like weeds, Alfred. Pull one up, another grows in its place." He feels like 20 years of fighting criminals amounts to nothing. He's done with them. The crusade against criminals doesn't matter, but beating Superman is about the future, and like he says, this may be the only thing I do that matters. He knows he's the only one fit enough to kill Superman. If he doesn't do it now, how long will it be before Superman turns against humanity? What he doesn't realize yet is that if he kills Superman, if he's the one who drives the blade in with malice, anger and fear, he'll lose his humanity for good. Moving on to the scene in Nairomi, Cosmonaut doesn't like Jimmy Olsen dying. Oh boy, Snyder must hate Superman because he kills his best friend. My guess is that he killed Olsen because he didn't want him flopping around in the background having his whole existence based on throwing random comments. I'd rather him dead than him making comments here and there trying to remain relevant. What's the Nairobi scene for, you ask? The scene's purpose is to set up the side story of Lois and the Bullet. It also leads to Superman being framed, so he ends up at the United States Capitol building where Lex can stage an explosion looking like Superman's fault, furthering the public's and Batman's hate of Superman. It's worth noting that he was already going to blow it up before he found out that Senator Finch knew about his bribing of the witness. Lex sets up the incident at Nairobi because he wants people to see more of the fraud that Superman is. Now, I agree, Eisenberg's performance as Lex Luthor is weird and strange, and let's be honest, you don't earn a Razzie for nothing. First time I watched it, I did think he was strange. I still think he's way too jittery, but I actually kind of like his performance now, or I at least find it entertaining, and the dialogue makes up for half of his quirkiness. The movie explains why he's like this, but many people feel like that this interpretation of Lex just isn't Lex Luthor. Now, you know what really grinds my gears? Nay, rice is my pudding. The fact that he's annoyed at being 45 minutes into the movie and there's only been people talking in boring, desaturated scenes. The dialogue in nearly every scene is amazing. To say these scenes with talking are boring is madness when you have dialogue like this. You know, my father set me down right here, tell me what Wayne Manor was built on. Railroads, real estates, and oil. First generation made their fortune trading with the French. Pelts, skins, they were hunters. You think this is the most boring in the series? You sure Suicide Squad doesn't take that honor? And you're telling me you'd rather it not be desaturated? You'd rather prefer the murky greys of the MCU movies where shots aren't pleasing to the eyes at all? Take one shot from BVS and you can frame it on your wall. He wonders why Lex Luthor and Batman don't team up, seeing as they both want Superman dead. Well, you see now, Lex wants Batman dead too, because he wants to smear Superman's name more. Anyway, he talks about the nightmare sequence and he finds it embarrassing how BVS alludes to movies that never happen and how it's embarrassing. Well, it's not embarrassing because Justice League is embarrassing, but we've got the Snyder Cut coming, and if we can get the Snyder Cut, then anything can happen. We may well get Justice League 2 and 3, who knows? This is a movie where Batman is angry at Superman because he kills people. Meanwhile, Superman is mad at Batman because he kills people. Wrong! It's that time of the evening, folks, for Motivation Explanation. Why Batman is angry at Superman. Destroying Metropolis causing the death of millions of innocent people. His business buildings being destroyed. His friend Jack dying. Superman blowing up the United States Capitol. Superman mocking him about his dead parents. The whole purpose for his crusade. The fact that he feels like this is the only thing he does that'll matter. If there's a 1% chance he is evil, then Batman has to take it as a certainty, because if he doesn't take action now, it may be too late. Superman has the chance to take out the entirety of the human race if he wanted to. He has to kill him now. Why Superman is angry at Batman. Giving criminals the death penalty, Batman needs to face justice for playing judge, jury, executioner. And if he doesn't kill Batman, his mum dies. Thank you for coming. Superman does help the people after the bomb explodes. He carries the survivors out and they're all getting cared for. Unless Superman has a first aid kit tucked up his cape, then I don't think he's much help. And like you said, you've seen the Ultimate Edition, so you know he definitely helps people. So, how does Lex Luthor know that mixing his blood with Zod will resurrect him into a monster? Because he asked the shit. You'd think when criticizing a movie you'd try to pay attention. And he's trying to kill both Superman and Batman. If Superman kills Batman, then prototype Doomsday will kill Superman. If Batman kills Superman, then also Doomsday. Cosmonaut doesn't like a villain who can anticipate everything. You're forgetting that Lex Luthor is a genius and is relatively the same IQ as Batman. If you want to talk about him anticipating everything and how it's a problem, then what about Zemo in Civil War? Zemo's whole plan relies on this car crashing right in front of a CCTV camera. Not only that, but it relies on Bucky being visible on that camera, and relies on Zemo getting hold of that footage. It relies on Iron Man pursuing Cap and Bucky after the airport fight. It relies on Iron Man getting mad from the recording. How does Zemo know Cap and Iron Man won't just turn on him after Iron Man realizes that Bucky was brainwashed? Now he rips into the main fight between Batman versus Superman, the name of the movie, and this fight is amazing. I honestly don't know what he's talking about when he says it's dumb. Oh wait, I do. It's because he's not listening or watching the movie. If you paid attention, you'd know that these smoke bombs are made from lead, and Superman can't see through lead. It seems like Snyder understands Superman more than he does. Oh, here we go. Their mothers share the same name. This isn't the point of the Martha scene, but I will admit that this scene should have been done better. It relies way too much on the audience's intelligence, and first time watching it, I did think it was solely due to their mothers sharing the same name. In fact, at that exact moment, I remember saying, I can see why people hate this movie now, when I first watched it. When Superman says Martha, it causes Batman to spiral into a fit of anger because he thinks it's a trick to make him lose his guard. When Lewis says it's his mother's name and that he's crying out for his mum, he realizes that he's like him, and that this alien that he saw as evil and destructive is human. He realizes that in that moment, he's become Joe Chill, and by killing Superman, he kills Martha. It reminds him of his whole purpose, that no boy should have to lose their parents through petty crime. So when it's his mother, he wants to do everything he can to save her, so Superman doesn't go through what he did. When you know what the scene means, it's actually quite good. And saying Batman doesn't learn his lesson from this moment is just not right. Batman does learn his lesson. He does everything he can to save Martha because he doesn't want Superman to lose his mother like he did. That's why he uses the gun. After he saved Martha, he stops killing because Superman reminded him of his humanity. In the Snyder Cut, he won't kill anymore, except for when in the nightmare future. If he doesn't stop killing, then hands up, I'm wrong. When he visits Lex Luthor, he doesn't brand him, showing that he's grown as a character, and will explore this growth, this arc more in the Snyder Cut. The last 40 minutes of the movie are okay. I sort of switch off when the prototype Doomsday shows up. The CGI is good, but the design is horrible. He looks like anthropomorphized porridge. He looks better than Hulk does in Ragnarok, but the design is just a letdown. So, Superman dies, and yes, Batman only knew him for an hour, but he's the whole reason why he's starting to become a better man. Of course he's going to be emotional. He'll never get the chance to thank him for bringing him to the light and saving him from becoming a monster. People will obviously mourn his death. The army acknowledged that Doomsday couldn't be killed, and the only one that could kill him was Superman. Superman gave his life for everyone. Of course they're emotional. Now I admit Superman's death does not hit the massive emotional beat it should have. Zack wanted to kill Superman because he wanted Bruce to set up the Justice League, showing the beginning of a new man. They should have done Man of Steel 2 first, but then again, how would they have fit the story of him facing justice without Batman confronting him? Anyway, that concludes this video. At the end of the day, I'm just seeing if his criticism of BVS are valid or not, and to be honest, it mostly comes down to personal preference, but there are a lot of problems that aren't valid and that I have an issue with. But I'm not going to change his opinion, he's not going to change mine. I spent a lot of time on this video, I really did enjoy making it, so if you want to subscribe, then you don't have to, but if you would, I'd appreciate it. This has been my most ambitious video yet, it took me a very long time. Anyway, I've been Godfather, I'll see you later.